Hello, hello. We're gonna get going here as things start to kick off. I am not caught up on live broadcast chat yet. Restreams live. YouTube looks happy. Excellent connection. Bruce S sees me. Hi, Unexpected Maker. Hi, David. Thanks all for joining. Hi, Benjamin. Hi, P-Boy. Hi, Kevin. Let me share the note stock in case people want to follow along. We'll do it in live broadcast chat. Hi, Hugo. Happy Friday. Hi, Charles. Hello and good day. Bruce S says, I was hoping for a sleep talk as I need a nap. Not much to say about sleep today. Is my microphone like very sensitive? It sounds like it's pretty high. Turn it down just a smidge in OBS. Thanks for the puzzle update. You're welcome, Alvaro. Cat is in hibernate mode. It's true. I pet him like a half hour ago. Vast says, I'm good. Thank you. Letting me know. Same with David. Awesome. Love having lots of folks hop in. It was a little bit hot, and that's perfect. Yeah, I knocked it down just a little bit. It's like even like little high in my... I don't want to mess with it. In my headphones. I sound like a radio presenter. So my grandpa was a radio man in the 30s. I have to look at that. My dad sent the he went to radio school in Indiana. My grandpa did. Had his ham license for like 30 years. Awesome. Well, we've got one more minute. Hi, Johnny. Glad you can make it. One more minute till 2 o'clock. Hugo Dahl points out that in 10 years I'll have to specify the 1930s, not the 2030s. Yeah. Pretty wild, huh? I don't know what. I must have bumped it. It's like very in my head. Yeah, so if folks have questions, as always, I'll take those. I will get started. It is 2 o'clock. I think everything is set. Hello, everyone. My name is Scott, and I work for Adafruit on CircuitPython. CircuitPython is an open source implementation of Python for microcontrollers, which are small, inexpensive computers that are meant to be placed in lots of different spots and are really, really accessible. Greetings, Bernie, from Bay City, Oregon. You're like somewhat close enough to me that we could ham it up maybe if I got my license one day. But your call sign is W7DMC, and my grandpa was W7HAV. So close enough to have the first two of the call sign the same. P-Boy is W7PEA. Hi, Simon. Yeah, so I work on CircuitPython for Adafruit. Adafruit is an open source software and hardware company based out of New York. Everybody's putting their call signs in. Charles is WA1OCV. Yeah, I've been meaning to get my ham license, actually. David asks, did you ever hear recordings of him or live? Did he have a special radio voice? No, I haven't heard, my grandpa, I haven't heard recordings of when he was on the radio. I think my dad said that when he was doing ham, he did a lot of Morse code. But he definitely worked at radio stations as well. Now you have to get somebody from New York to have run at the end of their call sign. Yeah, so CircuitPython, Adafruit. If you want to join the conversation that lasts all the time, you can go to the Adafruit Discord server by going to adafru.it/discord. That is a chat server that lasts all week, and it's a great place for you to ask questions about CircuitPython or Adafruit hardware or just making in general. Lots and lots of really cool folks there. Next up, yeah, if you want to support me, or you can support me by supporting Adafruit by going to adafruit.com and purchasing hardware there. That's lots of cool stuff there. This is a deep dive. It usually lasts about 2 hours, so I shoot Pacific time till 4 o'clock or so. I'm going to try to be a little bit stricter on ending that because we have a Black Lives Matter get together for folks to hold a sign for Black Lives Matter that I do on Friday evenings, and they shifted the time because with daylight savings, like the sun goes down earlier and stuff. So hi Folknology. So I'm going to try to not run over 4 o'clock as much as I do or I have before. Questions are welcome, as I said earlier, so if you have questions about anything electronics, Adafruit, software, that sort of stuff, I'm happy to entertain them. Parallel Logic points out that also Hackaday tonight. No. Yeah, I believe so. Remoticon has started. So if you're attending that, check that out. And, oh yeah, the last piece of housekeeping is that the cat that you can see here his name is Spook, and he is epileptic, which means he has seizures from time to time. If he does, I'll turn it off so you can't see it, and just stop and watch him. But he's been doing pretty good. So hopefully he won't have one, but just a heads up in case he does. He has in the past, so I like to just give folks a warning about that. But usually he's just asleep. That's it for housekeeping, I think. I think I said, oh, I should say hi to Nicholas. I don't think I said hi to Nicholas. I think I'm watching all the chats. Bruce S. finally got their Adafruit order in Canada. The mail is quite slow. Okay, so my plan for today, let me take a time code. So I think it, let me know if it's been working out, but we do have this microphone, I don't know what changed. It's weirding me out. Like I can hear the room a little bit better. Like maybe I bumped it or something, or it's angled slightly differently. Bruce S says it's actually good timing as it's the EInk feather thing. Yeah, the grayscale EInk. Yeah, so that's a great transition because I just wanted to mention a few things, which I'm not going to do that, and then I wanted to actually go into doing a project that I've been meaning to do with this. It's top secret. It's not out yet. EInk Portal. All right. Alvaro says it sounds good. Hi, Emmett. Glad you could join us. But yeah, I think like I kind of just want to make a project with us today. So, and I realize I'm on product showcase mode. So let's talk about a few things first. And as always, if you have questions, I'm happy to entertain them. I don't have actually all that much planned. I mean, we could do the project for 2 hours. That's easy. But if it comes down to that, we could, we got stuff. Where's the second cat? Emmett asks. The other cat's name is Vin, and she is not in the room. She gets pretty ornery and antsy when I'm talking. So she usually gets kicked out if I'm like chatting with somebody. So she's not in here right now. Benjamin says top secret things on live streams are just fine. Yeah. Oh, great. Bruce S says, I like the YouTube chat size. Seems larger today, much nicer on my TV. Oh, good. I think I've been pretty good about it once, because I actually have that checklist now. So now that I have the checklist, I think I've been good about making sure that the window is 150%. But I did notice that when I was looking at last week's recording, is I could actually read the YouTube text as well. So that's been great. Okay. So if you have questions, let me know. The first thing I just wanted to mention, folks have asked, and I've kind of been updating about CircuitPython 6.0. I handed that off to Dan, and Dan did a release of RC1. So please test that and let us know if you see any really nasty bugs in there. That will soon become 6.0, hopefully. And my intention is that once we have a 6.0 stable, we'll like pretty immediately follow up with a 6.1 pre-release because we have so much going on in the ESP32-S2 version that I want to make sure that like people have access to like the latest and greatest stuff in a release number, not just the like absolute latest builds. So keep an eye out for that, and just kind of, sorry, I sat outside while I ate lunch and it's not like super warm, so my nose is a little drippy. Yes, so Dan is going to take on 6.0, and then 6.1, once 6.0 is stable, we'll do a 6.1 pre-release, so like an alpha or beta, just so people can try it. And my expectation is that folks who are using ESP32-S2, you should just stick with the latest release, whether it's stable or not, because the ESP32-S2 is like very much in this mode of like all of the functionality is basically there, but like there's bugs that we have to weed out. And so it's just going to get better and better, like holistically. So I think for the folks doing ESP32-S2, plan on just for a while staying kind of up to date with the latest release, whether it's pre-release or not. Yeah, we talked about UF2 before, but I haven't done anything. I was meaning to do something and I got really distracted this week. But that's a 6.0 update. And then I also handed off the sleep work that I was doing, so that we also want to have deep sleep support in CircuitPython. P-Boy, are you asking me to clarify between main 6.0 and 6.1? Is that what you're asking? So Dan finished the BLE HCI work that he was working on. So he added the ability to, okay, I'll do that in just a sec, P-Boy. Dan added the ability for the boards where it's like a SAMD51 and an external ESP32. He added the ability to have the ESP32 in a BLE mode instead of a Wi-Fi mode. And so he just published a guide last week, I think, and showed how to do that. It's not as fully fledged as the NRF52840, but it's a really good start. So if you're interested in BLE with one of those airlift boards, check that out. The result is that like we have more time from Dan, which is great. And so I've been like so in the weeds with all this networking stuff that it kind of like, you've heard me week after week after week saying like I'm going to work on deep sleep any day now. And so I finally I chatted with Dan yesterday and like just kind of handed it off to him instead. Okay, so P-Boy asked the difference between main 6.0 and 6.1. So 6.0 is its own branch. So 6.0 is not really changing at all. We're only putting fixes into that branch. So if you look in, actually I'll just show you. If we go to the desktop and we do Adafruit CircuitPython. Davey Baker says S2 with Portenta Vision Shield with CircuitPython 6.1 is gonna rock. Did they do a demo with that? That sounds pretty wild. I would love to get CircuitPython on the portenta as well, but I just haven't had the cycles. It shouldn't be too much work. Yeah, so 6.0 is coming from this 6.0x branch now. So anything that goes in main is not going to be in 6.0. So we could do a comparison, but basically like there's more ESP32-S2 stuff in main, and main is going to be where we get 6.1. So we'll only do this sort of branching with a 6.1x when we're like pretty close to launching 6.1 as stable. So for a while, main and 6.1 are going to be the same thing. Like if you look, maybe it's in releases, but if you look at releases, you might be able to see that there's this like release that's not really a release, which is 6.1.0 alpha 0. So I just did this tag. So 3 weeks ago is when we tagged this. So all the changes in main from that point on are considered like going to be in 6.1. So if you do any of the absolute latest builds, you should get a 6.1.0 alpha 0 plus however many commits and stuff. So that's what it is. Hello, tiny LED matrix. Ah. There. Fede2 is linking me to. Let's check this out. It's a chip, a RISC-V core, like an ESP32, but with native USB. I have not heard of this yet. I don't think. He knows all my requirements. How do you know it has USB? I don't see it. Peripherals. It's usually listed under like connectivity. No, I don't see USB. David points out, so we can take an ESP32-S2 for the built-in Wi-Fi and use Airlift for BLE. Right. Right. So you could connect an ESP32 to an ESP32-S2 as an Airlift board and then use the ESP32 for BLE. Ah, Electronics Cat's got some. Huh. Alvaro says the board that Electronic Cats has does not have a serial programmer. It looks like the USB traces go straight to the chip. You can buy them from Alibaba. Saw it last week and there's not many docs. Interesting. If you can send, like, email me a link and I'll forward it to Lamore and we'll try to get some. Maybe take a look at it. How much? Oh, interesting. 32-pin QFN and 40-pin QFN. 276 kilobytes of SRAM. And an embedded flash that is optional. Interesting. 192 megahertz top speed. Cool. Like I'm excited to see RISC-V come more places. That's going to be really neat. I just like have been, you know me, I'm like, if it doesn't have native USB, I'm kind of at a loss. Cool. Well, that's good to know. I'm always on the lookout for new stuff. Okay. Parallel Logic asks, do you know what type of glue is used to hold the EInk display onto the PCB? That's a great question. And I don't know. I know that when I got this prototype from Lamore, I actually just used, it's on there because I used double-sided tape to stick it on. So my guess is that it's actually like a, double-sided tape, but I'm not sure. That's a great question to ask during Ask an Engineer on Wednesdays. So Adafruit has a lot of live shows, and That's, yeah, Lamore would know. Like, she knows everything. So, it's a hour long, so from like, what time is it here? Like 5 to 6 o'clock. And like all the questions, yeah, she would definitely know. Like, Lamore does most of the designs for Adafruit. I don't think people fully appreciate that. Like, these prototypes, like, she hand assembled. Cena asks, does Adafruit need to pay the $8,000 Bluetooth SIG declaration fee for each Bluetooth device it releases? It was annoying when I did a Bluetooth design. I don't think so. I believe we are a Bluetooth SIG member, but I don't think that's a per device fee. Like, Adafruit is both a Bluetooth SIG member and a USB member. Nice. Okay. Christian Beltrame says, what is your opinion of Bluetooth long range compared to Wi-Fi or Zigbee? I've not worked with any of those. I've not worked with any of those in a long range way. I do like Bluetooth. Like, I did the Learn guide for Bluetooth advertising based sensor data collection. Bluetooth sensor. I think the code may have like rotted just a smidge. But this guide here that John has is code that I wrote called BroadcastNet, and it just uses like perpetual scanning on the Raspberry Pi to listen for BLE broadcasts, which I'm pretty happy about. And it makes it really easy to add new sensors because you just like start a new sensor up and like everything's automatic. But yeah, I was just going to show for this BLE stuff. Resources, specifications, assigned numbers, company identifiers. So this is kind of interesting. These company identifiers are used in advertising. So you could just search for like Adafruit and you can see that our hexadecimal is 0822. Pine64 has a board coming as well for that same chip. The BL602. Blob-free Wi-Fi and BLE. I'm on board with that. What they mean by blobs is sometimes vendors will just give you compiled code that you need to use, that you need to run stuff. And that's like no fun to work with because there's no way to look in the source when things go wrong. The SDK has some object-only stuff now, but they're eliminating it. Interesting. Awesome. I will share that with a little more later. Or now, while I'm on stream. Actually, that JPEG link is not. Yeah, Parallel Logic says, I had to deal with capacitive touch blobs in my hobby project. Yeah, so we had to do that with the SAMD21 and the SAMD51 as well. Where we don't actually, in the 21, we managed to reverse it or figure out how to use the peripheral without the blob. So we have the free touch library in the SAMD21, but we took a look at the 51 and it looked completely different. So I tried at it and I just couldn't figure it out. All of which are unobfuscated and easy to disassemble. Huh. Yeah, that'll be neat. That'll be neat to see. We're definitely in ESP32-S land for now. But RISC-V with native USB would be pretty sweet. Okay, So that was a tangent as always, which is fine. Let's keep going. So you can see my notes. I should just say that I live in the US and I've been distracted by the election. As most of you probably know, we had an election on Tuesday. In the top line, the highest office that is on the ballot for Tuesday is the President of the United States. And there is not a winner yet. What happened is that because of the pandemic, a lot of states moved to a by mail system, like made it easier for folks to vote by mail. And usually what comes with that is that there's a period after the election day that like a ballot may be in the mail to get back to them. And then on top of that, there are others like we talked about this a little while back. There's also states that are new to mail-in ballots also didn't start processing them until Tuesday. So they got this like huge backlog of ballots and now they're going through them and figuring it out. So Bruce S. was joking about whether there is a winner or not. Yeah, it's interesting. In Washington State, where I live, we've been doing vote by mail for like the last 10 years or more. So we're all used to it, and they can process ballots. They just can't count them until election day. So, and we're not competitive for the presidential race either. So we're not the key, not one of the key states for that. But it was very eventful. I don't know how much we should talk about this, but there's two presidential candidates that are the most likely to win: Donald Trump, the existing president, and Joe Biden. And Donald Trump discouraged people from using vote by mail, which meant that more of the folks who voted for him voted on the day of, and all of those votes got tallied immediately, versus all of the vote by mail ones, which are more likely to go for the other candidate, Joe Biden, which caused this like appearance that the current president had won a lot, but then as they have been counting, like the race has gotten tighter and tighter. Yeah, vote by mail makes sense. Provincial election was on a weekend, easy to vote. Yeah, that makes sense too. There's calls for like, and Adafruit's good about this. They give people the day off to go vote, because in New York they've gotten better in New York about early voting and vote by mail. But they also give people the day off in case they're voting on the day of. Right, and Parallel Logic says states in the blue category, which is Joe Biden is a Democrat and usually is represented as blue, is 60-40 split, but states in red category seem more 70-30. Yeah, so the more influence Donald Trump has over the folks, it seems that fewer of those folks were voted by mail. Okay, that's all. I just wanted to say like that was on my mind this week, and that made it harder to focus. Brent points out that I voted early in New York, easy as clicking a URL. Hugo says, regardless of the outcome, at least more people voted during this election than during American Idol. Yeah, really good turnout. And in fact, in Washington State, I think they're expecting over 90% of voters to have voted, which is awesome. So voter turnout's great. Something I definitely believe in. Okay, let me make a time code and I'll talk about... So Davey Baker asks, CircuitPython with dual core on the STM32H7XX, like the portenta with the display portenta. So we should be able to we should be able to run on something like the H7 with a dual core, but I don't think we'll take advantage of the second core. We haven't really done any work to take advantage of extra cores. So I think it'd be really cool. And in fact, if you've been following along, I really would like CircuitPython bare metal on the Raspberry Pis, and the Pi Zero especially. And those are all multi-core, so those would be really interesting to start to figure out how you can do some things on different cores. Like the USB stack, for example, you could do on a different core. So yeah, it's probably coming. Going back to voting, David G points out Belgium turnout is above 90%, all voting in person on a single day, because voting is mandatory in Belgium. Mostly paper vote and manual count. Yeah. That would be really cool. I like Australia does mandatory voting as well, and I think they're up in the 90s, but it's really just a matter of how easy you make it, and it varies a lot state to state. Like we're getting 90% turnout where it's not mandatory. It does vary from election to election as well. But yeah, it's the United States is unique, I think, in a lot of ways. Fede2 asks, I know it's not out yet, but I'm guessing we can ask, is that EInk with partial updates? What colors? Late to the EInk party, I still want the e-reader that I thought was going to make a bunch of them as the Feather contest. Yeah, so the open book that won the Hackaday contest, I think they are still planning on making them. I think the problem has been that the pandemic, like they were going to have Joey Castillo is the guy who did the open book as the Featherwing, and like they're both in New York and they're excited to see each other. It's just pandemic. So this one on here is a grayscale. Sorry, it's so it has 4 colors, and we have this weird bug where the 4 gray colors are different between CircuitPython and Arduino right now. I think Lamore was going to try to look at that today, but this screen does have a partial update controller, but I don't think it buys you very much. Like there's no real reason to do it because there's some ghosting and stuff, and no colors. So this is just it's actually just 2 color, and then what you can do is you can tweak the timing to get like 2 other colors out of the sequence there. Is it the same as the cloud thing that Lamore showed in Top Secret? Yes. She just has a cloud cutout around it. Hopefully I'm not telling too much about it. So it's all up to be changed. But I know that there's some ghosting. Spook is affecting it. I don't know. I think Lamore's seen some ghosting too. So Parallel Logic said, if you had CircuitPython bare metal and Raspberry Pi, would you have instant boot? I wouldn't go so far as to say instant, but my impression is that it would be quicker than Linux because there's just less to do. And the like amount of stuff that you have to copy over is potentially smaller as well. Like copying the Linux kernel into memory is going to be larger than CircuitPython kernel, so to speak. Kevin Thomas said, I would love bare metal on the Raspberry Pi. Yeah, it looks pretty possible. I looked into it a lot, and I do want to get back to it. The first step is getting Tiny USB running on it, which shouldn't be that bad. Phil B's dithering stuff is amazeballs. Yeah, he's such a graphics guy. He's really good at it. Fede2 says, I welcome all to come visit a Costa Rican election. It's such a civic party. We go and vote with our families. We meet old friends at the polling places. It's a day off for everyone. People with cars and buses help people to travel to their voting places. We have no electronic voting at all, and the results are always ready in a couple of hours. Yeah. Yeah. I prefer mail-in over actual polling places. This is like that sense of community argument is actually used to disenfranchise people in the US, I think. Because some people may not be able to like get to the polling place or because of time or location. So I think it's always better to have more options, even if it does take a while to count. Like really what should happen is that we should go to vote by mail and they should be allowed to like process ballots as they come in. Even if they don't like there's steps before they count them, like validating that the like signature is correct. So yeah. So David asks about the top secret thing. Is it a portal or is it a featherwing? It's a self-contained thing. The can on the ESP32-S2 is off there, but it's all self-contained. Spoilers. I just got... I got a ping from Lamore saying, like, be ready to buy something. Something exciting's coming in stock, I guess. Okay, let's keep going. So the last thing I wanted to talk about before we poke around with this top secret thing is can we have the buy link too, please? Yeah, I don't know what's going back in stock. Emmett Ray says, do you have a mechanical keyboard? Sounds like mechanical. Yes, I do. And I don't know why my audio is hotter, but I have a keyboardio keyboard. So I have this one. Can we guess what is getting into stock? Pi 400? I haven't actually seen what... I just got the heads up that something's coming. Maybe I'll... And it says OMG. Yeah, so the reason I like this keyboard is that the two halves are split. So, like, you can't see it, but if I just, like, raise my hands, like, that's... The halves are split apart. Brent has a very good guess. Now I'm all excited. I can order something on stream. Did you see this what's new button? Let's see, what do I need to pick up? I guess we'll see. Do I want modules? I should do this off screen so I can cheat it. Did you notice we started carrying Arduino stuff? I think that's pretty neat. All right, well, I'll keep an eye on that. Mark is guessing Pi Compute 4. That would be exciting too. I wouldn't be surprised if we got both at the same time. Still waiting for a BNO 080. Todd Bot's pointing out that the barbed fitting connector for silicone tubings are in stock. Anyway, I'll keep an eye out on this internal chat. We'll let you know after people have picked it up. Parallel Logic says, I actually started an Arduino project with some friends a few months ago. If it had been the Arduino starter kit then, would have totally gotten that from Adafruit with the rest of the order. Nice. Bruce S. has a Pi 400 on the way. Um, the kit is really amazing having looked through the manual. Mark Olson says, I feel that whatever it is, I want to buy it just for funsies. Yeah, just a reminder, I am paid by Adafruit. So you support me by supporting Adafruit by going to adafruit.com, which is why I'm okay getting distracted buying things off the website. So I'll keep you posted. Okay, last but not least, the last thing I wanted to talk about is the ESP32-SPI and 4030. So this is the thing that's really been distracting me this week. Is I changed Adafruit Requests, which is like our skinny implementation of requests for CircuitPython. So Requests is a very, very, very popular regular CPython library. And so this is our version that ideally we would fit on to more things. Bruce S says, I need a discount code so we can all buy like mad, or a referral code at least. Yeah, so Adafruit's not doing blanket discount codes right now, largely because pandemic, right, and paying everyone. But I think, if you just order during my stream, we can still correlate it with the time. But I don't know. I think for the Stemma QT picks that JP does on Tuesday, I think they're doing some really interesting discounts on just like one item. So maybe that's something we could do. Like once we have more ESP32-S2 boards in stock, for example, we could just make like one board discounted, that sort of thing. Okay. So lots of people have been struggling because I updated requests with 1.7 to do a lot of stuff. No JP discount if you watch the recording. Yeah, they take it off. That doesn't surprise me. So I had to check. I added some error handling, some more error handling to requests, specifically around if you are like trying to, if you use a socket the second time and try to send and then the send fails, There's not much update yet. Sorry, I should not stop talking. Gregory asks, are there any applications to stem cell research and tissue engineering? Not that I don't know. Not that I know of. That's not anywhere near my area of expertise. And Dixie asks, are you talking about the ESP32 camera? I am not. I'm about to work on some projects with this, which has a ESP32-S2 on the back. We're going to try to get that going. P-Boy says, ESP32 camera is not the ESP32-S2 microcontroller, so it does not run CircuitPython. Yeah, the non-S2 version doesn't have native USB, which we require for CircuitPython, because that's critical to the way that you work on CircuitPython. So Benjamin says, Adafruit requests work for me, but is Adafruit MiniMqqt supposed to work for the Feather S2? We haven't tried it yet, I don't think. Brent is in the chat. I think Brent is watching, so maybe he'll chime in. But I think his, like, MiniMqqt needed the same, yep. So it's untested as of right now. There is an open issue, but it needed the same treatment as requests to get its socket API aligned with the CPython socket stuff, which is what I did in requests 1.7. So expect to see that. It's on our radar. It's all pretty early. Whoa. Gregory says, like interfacing human rat neural stem cell networks to computers. People are working on making rat neurons fly a plane. That is so far out of my wheelhouse. Alvaro points out, take a look at the iGEM communities. They don't do stem and tissue, but they do some seriously cool biohacking. Yeah, that's way out of my wheelhouse. But there's the Adafruit Discord is probably a good place to meet folks. But yeah, so I feel pretty good about this. These changes that I've made to changes to requests. I do have this example. Where did my, I covered my OBS with my new products window. I don't know what the new exciting thing is. If I switch to the overhead, I think I gotta sneeze. Maybe I can mute. Perfect. Okay, so what I've been testing with is this, and it's I think I pointed this out that I got this LED acrylic and it was the wrong size for the large matrix that I had gotten. So I got a smaller matrix, but this time I got the matrix that's too small for the LED acrylic. Thank you, Ed. So, I'm like Goldilocksing this this LED size thing. But I do have, so this is what I've been testing on. This is a weather example, and I've been testing it on the Matrix portal, which is an ESP32. It's a Sony Z-V1 with an ESP32 on the side as a like airlift board. And so that's where these requests changes came from. And then also the ESP32-SPI changes. So that is, let's see, I was like, my brain just had a thought of what might be going in the store. And I'll let you know after I see that the internal folks got some, if it happens soon. I mean, it's almost 6 o'clock in New York, so I'm surprised that anything's going in this late. So one thing I found is that the Nina firmware really doesn't like to have two SSL. So Nina firmware is the code that's running on the ESP32, not S2, that we call like airlifts. And I realized that it really doesn't like having two TLS connections at the same time, which is HTTPS. And so I added a thing to the ESP32-SPI library that just raises an error early if you try to open a second connection that's TLS. So that's in here. And then I also realized that when a send fails, the socket doesn't get closed correctly. And so that's what this addition here as well. It's like before we raise this runtime error, we make sure we close that socket as well. Just doing like better cleanup when things fail should hopefully make it more reliable. Sandy 21 with Wi-Fi and BLE? Not sure what you're... Oh, you can't see. Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Unexpected Maker. What I was just pointing out is, yep. So this is the ESP32-SPI library PR that is the latest one to merge in. So I added the ability of tracking, like if there's already a TLS socket open. I tweaked just the debugging here. Switched it to OS error from runtime error, which matches the way CPython sockets raise exceptions. And then also close the socket here so that if an error happens on send, like we make sure and like close it okay. So yeah, that's I'm feeling pretty good about that. I've had this demo running, although I don't think this demo is updating anymore. Yes, so Unexpected Maker says, so for clarification, the ESP32-SPI lib is specific to what talks to Nina firmware. Correct. So what I was happening, the problem I was having is that the requests library is shared between the ESP32-SPI library, which talks to Nina, and it's also shared with the request library is also what we use to talk to like the native socket pool and Wi-Fi stuff of the ESP32-S2 implementation. And the goal there, and additionally, the new requests, so 1.7 and newer, also works directly with CPython sockets. So you can do, when you create a request session, you give it both your socket pool, as I call it, and an SSL context. And in CPython, you just pass in the socket module as your socket pool. So that's the future of our networking libraries, and that makes it way easier to test stuff. Like you could just test them in CPython. So you could see here this is requests examples. You can see now that we have these examples that are requests HTTPS CPython. And so this is where you could see like, oh, here's how I would use Adafruit requests in CPython. Which again, like you have, right. So, Unexpected Maker says, so nothing specific has to change in the Nina firmware for these new fixes improvements. No. That was one of the goals, is because it's like not that easy to update the Nina firmware. So it's all about like trying to like treat it better so that it gets less unhappy. People are refreshing the new tab. Ed says, can I order stuff from Adafruit via email? I don't think so. If it's a purchase order, maybe. But I think generally you just need to order stuff from the website. Yeah, so if you're not in the Discord, I recommend you checking out the Discord. Somebody has refreshed the new products page to take a look at what's there. It's not in stock. Oh, it is in stock as of now. Sorry, I'm ordering. 22. Thank you, Mark. So this is maybe the first live stream ever where product has gone from it's not out yet, don't ask, to it's out. Yeah, it's out, you can ask. Whatever you want to call it. This is just a... Okay. We're probably okay. 16 in stock. Where did she... Ah. I said in the internal chat, folks watching the stream have caught on. Oh no, haha, it's okay. I have a limit of 2 per customer, so they can't do too much damage. Ed, I would recommend emailing support@adafruit.com and seeing how to do it there. I'm not the right person to know how to do that. Yeah, so I'll just talk about this now. If you haven't caught on to what the new product is, it's this Adafruit MagTag, which happens to be the production version of this thing that I just showed earlier. YouTube has 138. Wow, 126 according to this. Awesome. Hello, everyone. That's a new record for me. Yeah, so the MagTag is the Adafruit name for this new product. And yeah, Melissa points out that this is what you get for tuning in, is you get the hot takes and the heads up. And Lamore did say they will have more on Monday as well. So yeah, so this is the MagTag. And I could switch back to product mode. But let's actually do we've got another hour of the stream, so I actually want to try to get some weather icons and the time showing on here. So this is actually based on, I kind of asked Lamore for this for like, I asked her for it like years ago now, because I really wanted a clock that could sit next to my bed that didn't have any light, because we like it really dark when we're going to bed. But I sleep in, so the sun's almost always up when I'm waking up. So instead of having to like reach over and tap my phone, I want to just have like an EInk that I can see. My eyes will be all adjusted, and it'll be good. So we're getting the update from Mark. We're down to 6 in stock. Juan Carlos asks, is there a good table that just lists the differences between all of the ESP32 versions? I'm now all confused with the S2, the Room, etc. I think the closest thing to that is, I just got an email about this today. Espressif docs. So in the documentation from Espressif, there is just like a product ordering. There's a product ordering PDF that they always update with stuff. Where do they keep that? I just get the emails. Support documents. Technical documents? Yeah, here we go. So this is like all of their docs that they keep up to date, and you can subscribe, I think. I get emails about stuff. Yeah. Yep. So if you just do this Espressif product ordering information, I'll just pull it up because I have it. I looked at it this morning. They just updated it. It's really handy to keep an eye on because you can tell when they're doing like new modules and stuff. And the place that I look is actually, if you open the PDF and then go straight to the bottom, you can see like a changelog. So here it says, added the following products like ESP32 Pico V3, Pico Mini, and Pico DevKit M2, and then modified the production status of the S2 FH4. So that's a really, I think, a handy way to keep track of basically all of their product offerings, is to subscribe to changes to this document. And then there's like, you can see here, ESP32-S2 series. And sorry, I'll try to make it a little bigger. So here you can see like, oh, here's the S2 series, here's a product, and it's like just the chip, and it's in minimum order quantity, the production status, and then you can also see that there's actually versions of the chip that have built-in flash. And you can see that like the comment's actually wrong, because this is the 2 megabyte version is mass production, but the 4 megabyte one's sample. And then if you want to like see the differences between the modules, you can see here's the rooms and they don't have PSRAM, but then the rovers do have PSRAM. So generally I find like if you just want to know all the different variants of like all of the ESP stuff, like this is a great resource. But yeah, Ask Patrick W also points out that just you can go to the modules listing. Three in stock. Mark is keeping us up to date. So here it's a similar thing where you can see like the different options. Oh, and they have mini versions of the embedded flash ones as well. Yeah, so this has more text and stuff, which could be cool too. So yeah, this is perfect timing. Let's do some MagTag stuff. There's 3 left. More on Monday, apparently. But generally, this is how new products happen, is that they will get notified via Slack that like, hey, this new product that like a few of us got like prototypes of. But then like when they do like a run of like, I don't know, 40, then they'll let us all know that like, hey, this is coming in stock, and make sure that you snag one so that like when we're doing guides, for example, like everybody who does guides will have at least one, if not 2. So yeah, okay, let's, I'm going to let me go to the overhead. I'm going to turn this matrix off because I actually want to put the MagTag under there. So let me just make sure. And Parallel Logic says, you have to buy your products? No, I do not. I order through the website, but there's a way to make an order without paying. It just requires following up with the internal folks to get the order okayed. So there's a way to make an order and like claim the inventory, but they won't process it until they get an email from me saying like, hey, I made this order and it's legitimate. So it's like held pending until then. Okay, so let me eject. 2 left. There will be more, and there will be more soon. So don't worry too much about it. And of course, the guide is not out yet, I don't think. So like if you do get one, it's exciting. We'll see how ready we are for it. But yeah. Okay, so I'm going to unplug this and get it out of the way. My orange USB-C cable. A nice perk of working for Adafruit is the free hardware. Yeah. Lots of free hardware. David G says, so can you tell us what we have ordered exactly? And Hugo says, is your coupon code, hi, I'm Scott Shawcroft. You might remember me from such products as CircuitPython and MagTag. Parallel Logic says, so like sign of seniority at Adafruit is stockpile of electronics accumulated over the years. It's not even necessarily seniority. I mean, it's certainly some of that of like prototypes. Like we have a prototype Feather M0 Express downstairs that is still running, I think, CircuitPython like 0.9 that my guide actually, or that my wife used in a guide. It's like a red Feather M0 Express, like one of the very first ones. So I don't think it's like volume, because if somebody does a lot of support, they'll just order a lot of existing products. Seniority is more about like prototype stuff. Brent has a M0 Express Proto as well. Mark says, can you try to get more products to Mouser? It's hard for us Europeans to get the latest stuff. That's, I think, something you need to tell Mouser. But I don't think Adafruit ever makes the like brand new products available through distributors right away. Neradoc says, I don't know. I have a stockpile of Adafruit products that I have ordered over the years and I don't work for them. Yeah, true. Okay, so here's the board. Remember, these are, this is not exactly the board that was in the batch that just went out, which is why I ordered one. These are prototype boards that were hand assembled, as far as I know. I actually have two. I ordered one and it was in really slow shipping, so I ordered a second one. So this is the board. Is that big enough? Let me lock. So what we have on the bottom edge is 4 buttons. Oh, let me switch it so that I'm talking about the right thing. So this is oriented right for me now. So on the bottom 4, our bottom edge, there are 4 buttons, and they're generic buttons. And then at the top, there are 4 edge-lit RGB LEDs. I don't think anything was removed. So this is close enough, I think. And I think the idea with the LEDs is that you could shine it on the EInk if you want to see it in the dark. And then on the back, we have USB-C connector. We have 2 like 3-pin stemma connectors, along with a stemma, I think this is a MiniMqqt connector in the middle here. This is a battery connector, so this is where the battery goes. And parallel logic is exactly right. The reason it was slow is because I ordered these 420 milliamp hour batteries, which I believe are the ones that will fit on the back. Yep, looks right. Let's place that on there. So this is like the small battery with the short cable, and I don't know if it's charged or I don't even know what's on here, but we'll plug it in. Did I do anything? There we go. I think there is a power switch. There's a switch here, so I don't actually know what code's on here. The LED, I would expect the LED here to show up. Last time I tried it. So what else do we have here? I think this is the boot button for the ESP32-S2. This is the ESP32-S2 module with the cap removed. I don't know why that's that way. It just came that way. I think this button here is a reset. If I had to guess. This is all power stuff. And speaker as well. I know that Lamore was testing that it buzzed. But it didn't do anything with that battery. So let's plug it in and see if it does anything. Again, I don't know what's on here at all, so I think my first step is actually just... Okay, so I got a blue light. So there's 3, it looks like 3 LEDs along the bottom edge here. And I don't know which... Oh, now we have a green light when I switched it on. There we go. So I have... This is why a couple weeks ago I was... Oh, I'm sorry. Juan Carlos says, hee hee, I see your electronics have cat hairs all over the place too. I can relate. Yeah, that's a fact of life. Yeah, it's a fact of life that I have cat hair everywhere in this house. It's like a never-ending battle. So yeah, sorry for the white cat hair, but I have 2 white cats. That's life. And they're out of stock, according to Mark. Yep. Cool, folks. Fact of life plus a good camera. Yeah, at least the camera is good enough so that you can see it. That's a good sign. Okay, so let's see. Did it pop up? I think what I want to do is I do want to. Oh, it didn't pop up. Yeah, I've definitely. My wife pointed out last week when I did laundry that like Vin, the other cat, like actually slept in my clean laundry that was sitting out in the basket next to the dryer. So she was getting on top of things, literally getting hair on my clean clothes. Okay, so CircuitPython's on here, but it's a little bit old. And now that we're calling this MagTag, I kind of want to do a PR where we just rename it before everyone gets the other version. So let's just do that today, shall we? Git status, git fetch, Adafruit. Toddbot says, any functional differences for CircuitPython between the ESP32-S2 setup on MagTag versus the new ESP32-S2 Metro? I don't think so. I think it's the same module. So from like the ESP32 side, no. But like what's built into the board is a little bit different. And in fact, I should probably read the description here. It's a low power IoT display. So like, this is why low power is on our radar. I don't think that's a secret. That's why low power is something that we want to do, is for this board in particular. But I think they both have the rover. They both have battery charging. Obviously, the NeoPixels and the buttons. Oh, this does also have an LIS3DH accelerometer. And yes, it's a mini Class D amplifier on DAC output A0. I've not used this yet. Also, switch to your camera so we can see your PR. Okay, yeah. Clothes aren't truly clean unless a cat has slept and shed on them. Parallel Logic has been looking for a good camera to broadcast electronics projects recommendations. I really like this Sony. If you're wanting one that like you talk to, this Sony Z-V1 is great. It's in product showcase mode now. So if I just like hold up electronics, it's like super snappy focus wise. And I think it looks really good. Let me switch back. So like if I do that, like it's really responsive. But it's not in eye tracking mode, so I can do this, which there's a button on it that it now is like tracking my eye to keep it like super in focus. V is in Victor. And then the overhead that we have. So the cat cam is a Logitech C922. Which just is like not great for focus. And then the overhead that I'm using here is a Hover Cam Ultra 8, which is what Phil and Lamore like to use. But yeah, the focus on the ZV1 is like the reason I bought it, and I've been really happy with it. Okay, so here's my desktop, and now I have the overhead here as well. So this is what I was reading through. It's just like on the MagTag product page, all the different stuff. So the LIS3DH is on the MagTag, but not on the Metro. The speaker buzzer and the Class D amplifier is also not on the Metro, but is on the thing. And then this front-facing light sensor, I think, is actually not on my prototype boards. I think that's a late addition. If we see here at the top, there's this eye, and this prototype doesn't have that. So Yeah. I haven't seen. Mark says, have you seen the Nucleo LPN01A? Dan and I were just talking about low power management, so I'm curious. Oh, it's a power shield. Yeah. Pefo77 says ESP32 is not usable for commercial purposes as no hardware flash lock is possible. Why are you wasting time? We're not wasting time. Adafruit's, I would argue that Adafruit's main customer base is not commercial. It's certainly, like, we're all open source. So, like, locking stuff down is kind of counter to what we're trying to do. Like, CircuitPython is all about being able to plug it in and see the code from the get-go. So, yeah, not our audience. I think if you're making a commercial product, there's due diligence that folks need to do that we don't do, right? Like Adafruit's audience is beginners, teaching people to code and do electronics from zero. Yeah. Alvaro points out that lots of commercial stuff don't have their flash locked either. And P-Boy says that ESP32-S2 is what's being used and you can lock it down. Yeah. But even then, like, security is not our forte. Anybody doing a commercial project that's going to go out into a lot of places needs to be responsible for that. Okay. Back to the terminal. So I need to add my SSH ID. And now I can fetch. So this is how I start a new branch. This is really good for folks to see. So I check out the latest version of Adafruit main, and then I do git switch c, and I'm just going to call it MagTag. And now I'm going to change to ports at @mlsamd. And I'm going to rebrand it. Like, since it was just released today. Oh, no, not this one. Let's go to the IDF while we're at it, where we need to do export and export. Hopefully this works. I was trying to get the Nina firmware building, so that might have messed everything up, which would be sad. So if we look at boards, I've already added it. It's the Adafruit ESP32-S2 EInk Portal. So I think what I'll do is I will do git move Adafruit boards Adafruit EInk Portal to boards Adafruit MagTag. And now if we look at git status, we can see that everything's been moved. Lots of discussion about commercial stuff. Amber says, I live in Egypt. I have an ESP32 board. I know Python and want to contribute to open source project like CircuitPython. Would I find tasks to contribute on? If I hang out on Discord channel or GitHub issues? Yes, those are the two best places to start. Beware that, I hope you mean the ESP32-S2, because CircuitPython does not support the older ESP32 because it doesn't have native USB. But the Discord, you can go to adafru.it/discord, and that will jump you in there. There's a CircuitPython text channel, which is where like the vast majority of all of the discussion for CircuitPython stuff happens. And David Glad says the DoIt is the old ESP32. So you'll need to find another ESP32-S2 board to use CircuitPython on it natively. Okay. So I've moved it, and now what I want to do is I actually just want to go in and change any of the like naming. So in CircuitPython ports, ESP32-S2 boards, MagTag, board.c, no names there. So let's do this. And is that how it's capitalized? Yeah. Oops. So we'll change it here. I think the pinout's the same. This is why I ordered one. MagTag here as well. Pins are probably the same. We might have to add a pin or two there. This should be the same as well. I bet we need to add the, oh, there is a light sensor already. So this is up to date. It just won't, it's not quite correct for my own. Amir says, great, we'll search the local source for S2. Awesome. Yeah, and if you find a board that's not supported, that's a great starter project, which is like close to what we're looking at right here. So git status shows again that we modified them a bit, and let's just make it. Let's see, do I have a history? Yeah. You can see the last board I was using was the Unexpected Maker Feather S2 that I have. I was using that with the feather wing of the grayscale EInk as testing before I got the MagTag prototypes. So let's do Adafruit MagTag, and I think it's probably on ACM1, but maybe not. So Mark's going to keep us posted about the low power monitor stuff. And Bruce expects a full review video and some charts. What is the utility you use that changes your terminal prompt to show colored Git information? Foamy Guy asks. I use Oh My Fish. I think that's all it is. Oh My Fish. Bob the Fish. That's the version of it. So if you look at here, it looks exactly like mine. A stunning day here in British Columbia. Chilly but super. Yeah, it's nice and sunny but chilly here as well. We're getting all that Canadian air from you up there. So yeah, I use the fish shell, which is the thing that does like all of the autocomplete. Hi Phobos. We are rebranding the EInk Portal as a MagTag, which is the official name. Ooh, switch to Starship. Let's check that out while we compile. I'm doing it linearly because I don't trust the Ooh, it's Rust. That's neat. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. Switching shell, though, is like a little bit of a task. It's a rusty shell. Oh, interesting, and it's like within fish. Huh. I'm happy with how mine's set up right now, but Mark says he had issues with speed of Oh My. Yeah, it's handy. I like it a lot. All right, I don't think I have a UF2 bootloader on here, but if I wanted to try, I could do reset boot, and if I did have it on here, it would work. But it's loading that again, so no. The other thing, if you want to get in the native bootloader, you can hold boot while you hit reset. I think my USB hub is not happy, so I might have to flick that before it shows up. ACM1 is my keyboard, I think. So let me just... Yeah, I really do like having a shell prompt that includes your git status is really, really handy. I recommend it for sure. Okay. So ACM0 now is CircuitPython because I flicked the power. So if I just do reset boot again, I don't know if I have... No, it popped up CircuitPy. So if I hold boot and hit that, CircuitPy disappeared, but that means it should be in the boot ROM. So I should still have ACM0. And then I can just flash. I think I can just do flash. There's also a flash dash CircuitPython dash only, which will like preserve all of the other stuff around CircuitPython. So if you have like UF2 on there, you can just do flash CircuitPython only instead. So okay, we're loading our newly branded MagTag build onto the prototype MagTag. And once we confirm that that works, I'll just do a quick pull request for it. And now it says, hey, like you have to hit reset yourself. I'm gonna grab my other water behind me. Benjamin says, with the UF2 stuff from the 5th, the reset button combination actually worked for me. The version from the 3rd I had to redo before the CircuitPython update. Actually, I think I think Lamore put on the resistor capacitor combination that should make it possible to do a double tap reset as well. I asked her to put that on boards. Mark Olson says, one other positive thing of this past week, I learned all the names and geographic locations of all the US states. So you know where Washington State is now. That's great. Okay. We have a removable drive here. And let's talk to it. ACM0. And you can see that it's the MagTag with the ESP32-S2. Suddenly all Americans know geography, at least their own country. I wouldn't go that far. And the grayscale is still working. Very nice. So that's just my test there. So now, let's commit it and let's do finish the PR and then we'll play around with the example code on it. So when in doubt, get status. Always get status. I've heard this. I've said this before. on this stream a lot. It's just like, if you're new to get used to typing git status. It's really, really helpful, because it gives you tips like this where it says, oh, and if you don't want things in this list, run this command with the file name. Oh, and oh, you want things not in this list, you could do these other things. So like git status is very helpful. I cannot tell you enough how helpful git status is. It's like my default thing of just like, what am I doing in terminal? Like, I'll do it outside of git repositories. I'll do it in GDB. It's just like in my fingertips. Okay, so git status again. And let's git commit. And what we'll do is we'll say rebrand EInk Portal to MagTag. Git push tannewt MagTag. So this is pushing to my my repository on GitHub. Ooh, Nerodoc says I made it a shortcut, so I typed git st. I think I'd have more trouble with that now because I'm like just got status in my fingertips. Okay, so it does actually give us a thing that says like, oh, we can create a new pull request, but that's not going to do it correctly because my branch is actually branched from MicroPython. But what you can do is here, there's this nice orange pop-up, so I can just say compare and pull. And let's just see if Lady Ada's around. She can do the review, or anybody else watching can do the review too. And we'll label it ESP32-S2 enhancement. Milestone 6.0 feature, I guess. It's not really a bug fix, but you can see the changes that I made here. Really simple. Oh, you know what? This is going to fail. This is going to fail because I of course realized it right after I click it. There's one other place that the board name is, and if you look in, like, we changed this Adafruit ESP32S2 EInk Portal name to the Adafruit MagTag, so we also need to change the GitHub workflow. Yeah, right here. So this needs to be MagTag, and it's still alphabetical. Great. Git add. Fix build as well. Build board list. Oh, interesting. There's a use built-in paralang lists. Yeah, I use this weird font that like has a bunch of stuff merged together. This is the sort of task I'd use git grep to find those hidden references. Yeah, Dan, that's what Dan points out. This build here should fail quickly to tell me that it didn't work. So I should be able to just push it, and looks like some build is already running, but I could just push it again. I gotta remember I have a full glass of water now. Okay. Phobos Chairpup says, I would try to do coding or wires to make stuff, but I have a problem where if I touch anything I think has something on it, I have to wash my hands. It bugs me so much. I want to do cool stuff like you. So one thing I would recommend is like you can do coding just with a laptop. So I think that would be totally fine. I don't know how you are using computers, but like there's lots of coding you can do just on a computer. And then for touching electronics, like something like this where it's all in one, if you're worried about it having something on it, you can clean it once. Like just use like rubbing alcohol, or the screen is a little funny, and I don't know exactly the right way to do it, but like you could clean the device once so that you know that there's nothing on it for the next time. And Ryu Kachu says, would disposable gloves help with the hand washing compulsion? So that's another thing you could do. Benjamin says, when I face unexpected reloads, what would be a good way to troubleshoot this? I'm just connected via USB right now and now updated to the latest release from today. Not sure if it still happens. Yeah, so unexpected reloads, you might have seen it actually here. I think mine is actually doing it as we're talking. And this is not a function of CircuitPython. It's a function of the host OS. Oh, good. Phobos says gloves sound like a good idea. Awesome. So it depends on how the host OS like writes to the file system, because the reload stuff is very dumb in the sense that it doesn't know what you're changing in the file system at all. All it knows is that something was written, which is why if you have like multiple files or a library, like it will reload code.py even if code.py was not written. So in general, like it shouldn't matter. One thing I did notice is that we have this mini ESP tool, which allows you to flash the like ESP that isn't on an airlift board. And in its example, like there's a point where you're like actively flashing the file system. And I put guards around here. There is actually a supervisor call that you can disable autoreload with. And so if there's a critical section of code that you don't want an autoreload to happen, you could use that. So here's the API docs. You can hit core modules. This list gets longer and longer as we add more stuff, which is exciting. And then supervisor, and then there's enable autoreload and disable autoreload. And also, if it just bugs you in general, you can actually just disable autoreload, and that setting actually persists across runs. So if you really don't like it, you can turn it off. I think it's kind of like key to the whole CircuitPython workflow, so I don't recommend it. But if it does bother you, or you're doing something where it's actually dangerous, like you're attaching to a motor or something like that, then you can turn it off if you absolutely need to. David G says, since each board has a different USB ID, would it be possible to have an auto upgrade thing? Plug the board, double press reset, and the script detect what board it is. Download the latest firmware and copy it. Yeah, probably. Not exactly every board has a USB ID, but pretty close. But yeah, you could also do something like detect the board by like seeing the serial output. Fetty2 says, also Adafruit has amazing COVID screening, bleach sprays, etc. Not really, but I would lick a not really, but I would lick a board from Adafruit if I had to. I don't recommend licking the boards. So Benjamin, there is a USB bug. I think that we haven't hunted down, but I think people have seen that like the drive disappears and comes back. That is a separate thing. But if you're just seeing like a reload, then that's expected. It's weird because like not all the times the host writes to the file system is actually user generated. Okay, let's take a look at this. So Melissa already okayed it, which is great. And something must be running because all of our checks are queued. But thanks to Melissa for doing that quick review for me. And let's... Feta2 says, before COVID, I did lick a circuit playground. My students were scared that we were touching PCBs without static gloves. So I was showing them that they should not be afraid, and it was the back of the board. Ask Patrick W says, you could set a board in sunshine for a few days to like disinfect it. Unless you live in Seattle, which we happen to both live in Seattle. Toddbot says, oh, now you tell me not to lick the boards. Ah. Ryuk-chu says, have you guys done extreme thermal testing on the MagTag? Super low power consumption lends itself to outdoor applications, but can it survive hot, direct sunlight or freezing temperatures? And the answer is no, we have not done extreme thermal testing on it at all. And in fact, we don't even have, like, Lamore did like rudimentary power consumption testing in Arduino, but we don't support it yet in CircuitPython. So it's like very early days. And I believe that most of the EInk screens that we carry actually say not to leave them in direct sunlight. So make sure, and like, if you're going to do that, check as well. Hi, Bahamut. Thanks for, I hope I'm saying that right. Yeah, Toddbot points out that some text editors will do autosave, and that could trigger a CircuitPython reload. Yeah, and David points out it's for the outside of a fridge. Okay, let's do something with it. We've got 20 minutes. How about we do the weather forecasting? But then I need icons. I don't know. I did snag some stuff from the Matrix portal. So there is Wi-Fi test. Let's just look and see what code.py is. So code.py here is the grayscale stuff. So let's start here. And this is just showing this Blinka Strength Tarot card. Bitcoin. I don't have any Bitcoin. And I am actually like wanting to do this project so I can have, like, I actually want this sitting next to my bed. So I want to work towards doing that. So what am I thinking? Oh, I want to copy. I do have a copy of this, but I want to duplicate it and rename EInk test. So if you're watching this, you could see that it just flickered again because I'm doing file system writes. I figure we could do some image stuff as well. I think that would be cool. So maybe we should do that. Well, let's do the Wi-Fi stuff first. So do I have requests on here? Yeah, I have an old version, but let's use the new version. So I'm going to delete that. And then I'm going to download the hot off the presses version. Just because I want to make sure I'm using the latest, so if I hit any issues, I can fix them. So we can see that there's a release 4 hours ago. We can download the 6x version 1.75. We will extract it to downloads because I just throw everything in downloads. Oh, but I got the MPY version. I don't want the MPY version. I want the Python version. So that I can edit it easily if I need to. So I extracted that, and now I can go here, go downloads and requests 175 library, and just drag and drop it there. So you'll see this flicker again as my system copies it over. And one thing I have found with Linux is that sometimes it doesn't copy everything. So I need to do sync. Oh. Bahamut says, Do you have any more info on the VGA to HDMI converter? I can't find any spec sheet for it. It's product 3535. I don't know anything off the top of my head. If you're looking for a spec sheet like that, I would recommend emailing support, and they can give you any links to what they knew. But yeah, so for something like this, I would recommend emailing support. And it's kind of old, like 2017. So it's possible there's also a newer version. But yeah, if I'd say just email support at adafruit.com. They can give you any more details that aren't on the website. Okay, so we've got latest requests on here. Let's connect to the terminal. We're probably on 0 still. Okay, so we're still doing the grayscale demo, which is fine. But now we want to start doing Wi-Fi. And so we're going to do import Wi-Fi, import SSL, and import socket pool. If I remember how to do this, folks can tell me. So I think what we do is we do Wi-Fi.radio.connect to Skylab free Wi-Fi. If you're ever close enough to connect to my Wi-Fi, then we should get a beer or something. And then we do socket pool or socket pool. This is a test if I can remember the API that I came up with. Pool. Maybe. Mark says he may have gotten blocked by YouTube for mentioning the political. Something political. I'm totally okay with that. I like to call the session HTTP, so I do Adafruit requests session. What are the odds that I get this right the first time? SSL.create default context. Don't visit me unexpectedly, but like if you're in Seattle, you're welcome to let me know you're going to be, and I'd love to meet up with you. But don't show up to my house without uninvited. That's not cool. Okay, so let's see how far we're getting here. I think that's right. The syntax passed. Looks like it worked. Let's see if we can make a request. Mumbling noises about using PyCharm instead of Sublime. Yeah, I'm not like an IDE power user. That's part of my shtick. Okay, let's do HTTP get. And now I need a URL, and now I need a secret, an actual secret. Because I do want to get the weather forecast. So the current recommendation we have in our guides is to use this thing called Open Weather. And they have a number of options for getting your thing. And it requires the app ID in there. I am going to move one of these off the screen. I think I have one that I could just show on the screen, and then I'll just disable it later. I think that's just what I'll do. It's not like I'm paying anything for it, so it's not going to be the end of the world. Open weather map. I just have to remember that I need to disable it later. Okay. So don't use this key, please, but it will only work while we're here. So open weather key equals, just triple check that that's all I have in my, yeah. All right. This is why keys are great. This is not a password. This is a key that after we're done here, I can disable. So there's that, but we don't know what the print r.json. And I want to snag it from, I'll snag it from the Learn Guide. Let's find the Learn Guide that uses this, which is what my code is based on. Open weather. Perfect. I think I got it from the Matrix portal, but we'll just take a look at software. CircuitPython code.py. Location. So this is what we want. This is just the URL. And I'm going to do it as HTTPS. You all know I'm in that I'm in Seattle. So we'll just do that. App ID plus open weather token key. Token is this other thing. All right, let's see if that works. Probably won't because, you know, streaming, live demos. Bruce S says, this code is a lot simpler than the equivalent I have in C and C++. That's the point, right? Like Python doesn't run as fast as C and C++, but it's a lot faster to write. And look, we got information. Yippee. Okay, so let's unpack what requests we're making, because I think what I actually want to do in the next 10 minutes, we can see how far I get. But what I'm thinking is I want a big display of the time, and then along the bottom, I want icons for like every hour of the day. Because one thing that I do, because I work from home, is I can run whenever the weather is not raining. So I think my goal is to have small icons along the bottom that tell me across the day if it's gonna like rain later or it's gonna stop raining. So I think that's my goal. So I actually want to take a look at the API for open weather, because this is current weather forecast. So if we look here, it's just data 2.5 / weather. Ryu Kachu says, faster to write and more readable. Readability counts, so says Python Jesus. Snow. We rarely get snow, but that is a good point because I don't like to run when it's really cold. So that would be another thing to consider. It doesn't snow that often in Seattle, but it will get cold and sunny, which is not fun to run in either, in my opinion. So let's pull up the APIs here. Let's go back here and API. Keith EE says, the transition from standard Python to CircuitPython is what I'm working on my confidence in. Thank you. Yeah. It should feel very familiar. Oh, Keith EE says, can you create a secrets.py and import that? Yes, you can. I actually prefer, I do that in Learn Guide examples, but it turns out that CPython has a secrets module already. So if you wanted to, you could call it something else, and that would just be a little bit simpler. I wouldn't have recommended us doing it secrets.py. I mean, it makes sense, but the fact that it conflicts with an existing like CPython module is like not great. So yeah, I could do that. I could do it that way as well. Bruce S says, I'm converting my other code to use the one call API, or will when I get to it. Okay, so let's take a look at the different APIs that they have. So instead of looking at current conditions, I want to look at hourly forecast. So one call API gives us current forecast and historical weather data. Minute forecast for an hour, hourly forecast for 48 hours, daily for the next 7 days, and previous 5 days as well, which is pretty wild. Fede2 says, I've never seen snow. Not sure if I want to. I'm so cold right now, and it's 18 Celsius. Snow is cool. I think you should definitely see snow. It's not something that, like, the great thing about Seattle is that you can go to the snow most of the time, but you're not like stuck in it. But snow has this interesting effect that I don't know of any other weather condition, but when there's snow on the ground, like, it's sound dampening. So like everything is really quiet, which is really cool about snow. Juan Carlos says, is async IO not in CircuitPython? If not, has anyone gotten it to work? So definitely check out the issues and look for Warrior of Wire. They turned it on in CircuitPython, so it's actually technically like the async and the await keywords are in 6.0. It's just like super early days and I don't know how to use it. So you can take a look at that and start to go there. Keith EE says, my usual one is called a secretplace.py. Nice. That's a great name. Do we get the REPL on the EInk? Yeah, I think it should work. Maybe not. I don't remember how I had that work. I think the EInk, it might just show, I think it might refresh once at the end. Not during the REPL. It didn't update when I did that. Okay, so we could just do the one call API and just take a look at that. Oh, and it's also important to note that I have a free account, so this hourly forecast for 4 days is not available on free accounts. So if I want to forecast, it looks like the one call it. Oh, I guess there's this 5-day, 3-hour forecast. But the one call is actually the one that looks to be the best one for me. Gary says, no such thing as cold weather, just the wrong clothes. Trust me, I'm from Ireland. Yeah, Ireland's beautiful. I've been there a couple times. Trying to get something like this going. Mark Olson lives in Sweden and has definitely seen snow. Yeah, we don't get it that much. We don't get it that often. But I do. It's cool. I like it. Okay, so interesting. So the one call API is based on latitude and longitude, which I definitely. Oh, and it's interesting. You could say exclude. Let's switch over to that and check it out. I am not gonna. Yeah, I'll pick out a lat long to try it with. Actually, I bet the lat long is in the result of the other thing. And one call lat long, and let's look at the output. country, sunset time, which I'm very excited about. I also, oh, here we go. So here's a lat long. So longitude. Ooh. Belly's groaning. And latitude. Perfect. And let's not, we want hourly, and we may want daily as well. So let's just exclude and see. We probably are going to get a lot of stuff. So this is another thing. If you just don't want it to refresh while you're like actively doing stuff, you can go to the REPL, and the REPL is won't reload automatically. So if you are doing like a lot of file transfers, you can just go into the REPL and then you hit Control D to get out of it. Cars like to have hats when it's cold. That's a lot of snow. We don't really ever get that much snow. A lot of our snow happens when like cold Canadian air is getting pushed out or pushing out warm, wet air. And so we only get snow briefly. Oh boy. That's a lot of data. Okay, so let's enter the REPL again. This will prevent it from scrolling. And let's just take a look up. So there's the minutely precipitation, which I don't think I care for. And wow, there's a lot of stuff here. So there's a pretty module in CPython that might make it easier. But what we can do, actually, we're just about out of time. If anybody has final questions, consider this last call for questions. But one thing we can do is we can do result, or we could call this weather. Weather equals rJSON, and then for key in weather, print key. So this will auto reload us, and maybe looks like it's busy doing stuff. So David G asks, will Melissa do a portal library like for Matrix and PyPortal? Yeah, we'll definitely do some libraries for it. I would like to move away from the like one big monolithic library sort of thing. So I would like to see it evolve a bit. But yeah, well, you can expect lots of guides and lots of libraries to go along with it and make it really easy. Parallel Logic says, assuming no Wi-Fi usage, how long would this unit last until it needs a recharge? That's a really tough question, I think, to answer at this point. We're hoping for a week or two, I think. But that's all to be determined because we don't have the sleep support yet. And I think we're gearing towards like wake up once an hour and do 1 or 2 Wi-Fi fetches and do that. Fede2 asks, any new plans for electioncal? Are we sleeping for 3 years? And Mark points out that we have midterms, which in the US are about 2 years from now. I think, and Ask Patrick and I need to talk about this, but I suspect that we're not going to continue doing electioncal. I think what happened is that like we were really early with it, but by the time that like everything was really heated up, there was lots of sources for that information and lots of people that were getting it out. Ask Patrick says we need about 100 new volunteers. And yeah, David points out that there are elections in January. There's lots of elections. That's one thing I learned, like school board elections and stuff. But yeah, I think David's referring to the runoff elections in Georgia in January. Parallel Logic says, could see sleep support could be pretty important. Just thinking about a wall-mounted weather monitor. Question is how often it needs to be taken down and recharged. Yeah, I'm actually planning on just having it next to my bed and just plugged in. But yeah, the goal is to go on a refrigerator where it would be less easy to plug it in. So, yeah, deep sleep is important. It shuts basically everything off except the clock, so that it knows when to wake up again. But yeah, it's gonna be really neat. I'm excited about it. And I don't know what's happening here. I don't know what's happening here. It's possible we're fetching. There's definitely bugs still. Fetching weather. Weather parsed. We'll run that. It's not even control seeable. Although I think, and I haven't gotten back to Dave about this. Dave Putz is amazing, by the way. He's one of our community members. He really tackled some interesting, difficult problems. And he's got a PR that he just updated to fix this issue. I think it's this issue or a similar one of not being able to control C. During sleeps, I think is what his fix is for. And there's no reason we should be sleeping at this point, so something else is happening, which will need to debug. Parallel Logic says, currently working on an EInk project to have 1 year between charges, 70 milliamp hour battery using a SAM L21 and no Wi-Fi. Yeah, we're not going for that. We're not going to be in the year. We're not going to be months, I don't think either. But any help making it better would be great. Okay, we don't have to wait for this anymore. Thank you all for hanging out with me. As always, it's been a pleasure to hang out, see some new products become top secret to launched all at once. If you're interested in doing some low power stuff and some EInk stuff, the MagTag is really cool. I'm very excited about it. It's just super early days, so be aware of that. If you want to help us out, we'd love help. You can chat with me, and you can chat with a whole bunch of other folks by going to adafru.it/discord. We're there all week. The chat lasts, so please check that out. Charles is recommending I just reset it. So let's sync and just see. Although we're not changing the display at all yet, so I don't know if we'll see anything exciting. If you want to support me, you can support me indirectly by supporting Adafruit, by going to adafruit.com. We have lots of open source electronics that we sell there that are low cost, easy ways to get into experimenting with computers and code and hardware. Lots of tutorials. It's all about being open and getting beginners ramped up and learning all this sort of stuff. So I stream every Friday at 2 p.m. Pacific. I'm in Seattle, so that's my time zone. Go for about 2 hours. Next week is on Friday. I think the following week will be on Thursday, so keep an eye out for that. But we're done with some time shifts for a while, so the time should be kind of the same going forwards. And with that, I hope you all have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week and on the Discord before then. I guess I could pet the cat like I usually do. Spook, you want end of stream pets? Oh, stretch. Stretch, kitty. Oh, yeah. You have a good life, don't you, kitty? He says, where are you going? All right, see y'all later.